welcome back to First Hand Globetrotting. Today, I'll show you all about Belfast, Northern Ireland. Before I start, this footage is from a trip I took a few years ago, but it should still give you a great overview of what to see and do there. To start, you're going to need to get there. If you're flying in, there's an international airport nearby that will give you plenty of flight options. Both times I visited Belfast, I came on the ground from Dublin. One time I came by train and the other time by bus. They were both really easy ways to get there and drop you off near downtown Belfast. Since it's a small city, I recommend getting a hotel as close as you can to the city centre. Belfast City Hall is a good central landmark to use. If you're near there, you can easily walk to all the major sites in Belfast. I stayed a little bit south of City Hall and I was pretty happy with the location. Like most cities I go to, I spent a lot of time just wandering around and exploring. One landmark that caught my eye was the old Albert Memorial Clock. It's a tall, Gothic-style clock tower from the 1800s, so it definitely stands out in the middle of the city. Plus, it has a bit of a lean to it, kind of like the Belfast version of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. If you take a walk down by the River Logan, make sure to keep your eyes open for the big fish. It's also called the Salmon of Knowledge, and it's a big mosaic sculpture that tells the history of Belfast. If you walk across the bridge to the other side of the river, you get to the Titanic Quarter. Titanic fans can check out Titanic Belfast since the ship was built right here in the city. But while wandering around the city is great, there are two must-do things in Belfast. The first is the world-famous black cab tours. They spend a few hours driving around some of the most divided neighborhoods in Belfast, like Falls Road and Shankill Road. What you're going to notice right away are the huge political murals on the side of some of the houses in those neighborhoods. Your driver will be able to tell you the meaning behind them and show you murals from both the Catholic and Protestant parts of town. The tours are surprisingly affordable considering you get your own cab with a local driver serving as your tour guide. It's an incredible guided history lesson about the Troubles in Ireland. And I'll admit, the stuff you learn about gets pretty heavy. There were some horrific things done in Belfast, and it happened pretty recently, but with like all the dark chapters of history, it's always good to learn from them. You'll also get to see a peace wall. They were once physical barriers to keep people from different neighborhoods away from each other. These aren't tiny little walls either. They're massive and have closable gates to shut down the roads. All of this to try to keep the violence between neighborhoods to a minimum. But now if you look at them, you'll see that they're decorated with murals and graffiti that have more of a positive message. As I said at the start, I think this is something you shouldn't miss in Belfast. I've taken one of these tours every time I've been there, and I seem to see new things and learn more every time. There are lots of cabs offering the tour, so you shouldn't have much trouble finding a great one to take. The other must-do thing is a day trip to the Giant's Causeway. You'll need to rent a car or take a bus tour to get there. Most of the bus tours leave from right near City Hall, and that's what I did. In my opinion, the time to get there and the cost of the trip were completely worth it. And, like any good day trip, the tour had a few great pit stops along the way. The first place we stopped was just outside Belfast at Carrickfergus Castle. It's usually just a quick photo stop before you get to the more famous places on the tour. But it's a really well-preserved medieval castle from the 1100s right on the water's edge. But I'm a sucker for castles, so it made for a nice stop for a quick walk. Back on the tour bus and you'll get a great view of the Antrim Coast out your window. But don't worry if it's going by too quickly, you'll get plenty of other opportunities to see the coastline and water views in a little bit. The next stop is the Carrick-a-Rede rope bridge. Over 300 years ago, some fishermen needed a way to get from the mainland to a tiny fishing island, so they built themselves a rope bridge. The bridge has been upgraded over the years, and you can still walk across it and explore the island. But you have to be brave enough. It's a single-file rope bridge, 65 feet long, and brings you over 100 feet above the rocks and water below. Definitely an impressive view, but if you don't like heights, it can seem like a long way down. Once you cross the bridge, the island gives you some pretty spectacular views. It's just water and coastline and islands and rocks as far as you can see. So I really don't think you're going to regret facing your fears and crossing the bridge. But as good as the rope bridge is, the highlight of the tour is the Giant's Causeway. As the story goes, there used to be a road between Northern Ireland and Scotland. But some giants got into a bit of a fight and the road was destroyed by one of them when he escaped. Now the rock formations are all that's left from the causeway. To start, you can take a hiking trail along the top of the hills that surround the causeway. more incredible views of the coastline, plus you can look down at all the tourists and rock formations down below. But the rock formations are the main attractions. The Giant's Causeway has thousands of stone columns in all sorts of different shapes and sizes and arrangements. And if the story of fighting giants wasn't enough for you, they give names to all the different formations based on what they look like the organ and the giant's boot. But my favorite formation was the one made up of hundreds of columns forming a tiny walkway out into the water. It's really cool looking down at them and seeing how they fit together, or just sitting down and watching the waves crashing against them. I absolutely loved the Giant's Causeway and will definitely go back the next time I visit Belfast. My main recommendation is that if you're taking a bus tour, pick one that gives you a lot of time at the Causeway. If you're a nature lover, there's so much to see and explore and take pictures of, so you'll want as much time as you can get. My food and drink recommendation in Belfast is Bushmills Irish Whiskey. It's distilled on the Antrim Coast, only a few miles from the Giant's Causeway. Not only is it the oldest of the Irish distilleries, but it's arguably the most well-known Northern Irish drink. So you'll definitely want to try a little for yourself. That's Belfast, Northern Ireland. I liked it enough that I've been back twice, so of course it's a city that I highly recommend. The city itself is fun to explore, but the real selling features are getting to learn about the recent troubles in its past and how close it is to the amazing tourist stops along the Antrim Coast. If you have any questions about Belfast, ask me in the comments. And don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. On Twitter, I'm Firsthand Globe. On Instagram, I'm Firsthand Globetrotting. Follow me on there. And don't forget, it's an incredible world out there, so pick up your passport and do some firsthand globetrotting of your own.